Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to News 3 Now, live at 4 on this Monday. Hope you all had a nice weekend.
Nice weekend. Winter returns tonight.
Yeah,
with a vengeance.
I just got done scraping the deck off for the dogs, and now start all over again.
Yep, you're going to have to start from scratch.
Yep, that's what's topping our news today. The threat of another big storm is forcing the Madison Streets Department to do something they haven't done in more than 40 years. That and good luck finding salt to melt the ice on your driveway.
It's been a big problem. In Beloit, police are searching for a suspect in a murder over the weekend. Our Madeline O'Neill is there with an update on what happened.
And in New York, competition for the best of show is underway. A look at the favorites in the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show.
Let's take a look outside today. It was, pretty quiet.
Relatively
calm before
warm.
the storm.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad winter day at all. However, it's on the way. Dana Fulton's on the backyard to tell us what it is.
It would be more of some snow for us. Yes, we are expecting several inches of snowfall to move in. Just in the next few hours, we'll start to get a little closer to Madison, but notice in Platteville and Grant County right now, we're picking up some flurries starting to move in towards Dubuque. They're seeing snowfall. Moline, Illinois, all seeing snowfall. You go into central Illinois, they're dealing with freezing rain as their temperatures are right along that freezing point in the low 30s. But for us, we are just talking about snow for tonight, and it's going to get heavy at times. By tomorrow morning, we're expecting several inches of accumulation. Throughout southern Wisconsin, we have winter storm warnings and watches in effect. Those will all go into effect later on this evening and last all through Tuesday. Notice tonight the probability hops up right around midnight and stays up. We are expecting that heavy snow to come in and stay with us through the early morning. The good news, not a lot of people usually on the road early in the morning. That's really the ideal time to get most of the heavier snowfall through. The bad news, we're expecting quite a bit. So your Tuesday morning commute could still be very messy outside, as they were just talking about salt. A high top priority for your Tuesday. We have an alert day in the forecast for tonight and for all of Tuesday. The heavy snow threat is for all of southern Wisconsin. We're expecting anywhere from 4 to 10 inches for the area, 4 inches around Janesville, closer to Madison around 10. And then you get closer to Wisconsin Dells, up to a foot of snow certainly possible for us. We'll take a closer look at some timing and, of course, the forecast for the rest of the week in just a few minutes. Right now, I want to take a little look at what is going on the roads. Thankfully, no major accidents to report right now. The Beltline, though, eastbound, seeing a few brake lights. Things are slowing down just a little bit right along John Nolan, about 25 miles per hour eastbound. But you get closer to the bend heading towards Middleton. About 62 miles per hour, so a little better speed there. Monona seems okay right now. Looking up to the northwest corner of the area, Sauk County all looks good, and then bouncing down towards Janesville. Also seeing just a few brake lights right downtown, but overall things are okay. And if you are heading from the Beltline to Janesville, it'll take you just about 27 minutes. Drive times from Middleton to Sauk City and downtown to Sun Prairie, right where they should be in the teens right now. Again, if you don't have to go anywhere in the morning, I would certainly recommend staying home if you can, because the snow that's coming through is going to make things quite messy for the next day or so.
Expect school closings, I'm sure, tomorrow.
I would have to guess yes.
All right, Dana.
None yet, though. None yet.
None yet, yeah. We'll see you in a few minutes, Dana. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. First at 4, the storm that's heading our way is prompting the Madison Streets Department to do something it hasn't done since the 1970s.
Yeah, they're going to apply salt to all residential streets in the city. The Streets Department says the action is necessary due to the layer of ice on many streets and the approaching storm. Roads are currently slippery and challenging for roadway users with ice-packed streets. They say plowing equipment will be unable to push the heavy snow since there isn't sufficient traction. And many residents have been on the hunt for salt to melt the ice on their personal property.
Yeah, sidewalks are still very slippery, but the salt has been very hard to find. And Eric Franke is here in the studio to tell us more. Eric?
Well, Mark and Susan, part of this is because we had such a snow and ice-free December. These hardware stores, they weren't selling any salt, so they reduced shipments because if it sits too long, it goes bad. And then, of course, last month, winter arrived with considerable force. At the Do It Best hardware store in Mount Horeb, store managers had people driving all the way down there this weekend from the east side of Madison looking for some ice melt, for some salt. And they're doing everything they can now to get it, even sending a lumber truck up north to find a supplier that had some left on their stock, on their shelves, and many others looking for alternatives.
With the big snowfall coming tonight, I mean, the phone has been ringing nonstop. Do you have sidewalk salt? Do you have sidewalk salt? I did a good buy on softener salt, the crystals, and I sold out of that because people are substituting that in for the sidewalk salt.
Yeah, he says that'll work. He also says potash is another thing that'll work, but says in the colder temperatures, it simply is not as effective. Hodgson says he had to go back 7 or 8 years for the last time they had such a shortage of this ice melt. And each year, he's actually been cutting back on what he's ordered because there just has been less and less demand. Mark and Susan?
Except for this year.
Yep.
38 days until spring.
Right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Slippery roads led to a fatal crash this morning south of Janesville. The Rock County Sheriff's Office says a 62-year-old Beloit man lost control of his SUV on a County Road G bridge. He slid into the path of a car driven by a 53-year-old Janesville man who was pronounced dead at the hospital. A public safety officer amazingly escaped without being injured this morning in Ashwaubenon after his car was hit by a semi. Police say the semi didn't stop for a red light and plowed right into the driver's side door of the squad car. The officer was initially trapped in the vehicle, but he was able to get free and he was uninjured. Beloit police are asking the community for their help in finding the person they believe shot and killed James Tompton of Janesville in a vehicle over the weekend.
They're releasing new information saying 28-year-old Tompton was found shot and killed in a car still running in the 800 block of Vine Street Saturday afternoon. They are releasing a picture and video they hope will lead to an arrest. Our Madison O'Neill is live now in Beloit with the latest. Maddie.
Mark and Susan, Beloit police are telling us this is the city's first homicide this year, but it's not a random shooting. We'll show you a picture of the car Tompton was shot in. It's a beige Cadillac Escalade. Police are asking anyone with information about this vehicle to give them a call. They're also releasing surveillance video they believe is a man with the victim at a business on Beloit's east side right before the homicide. They're hoping to get his identity to speak with him.
This was not a random act where somebody was just walking around shooting guns. There was a relationship between these two people, and the activities that they were involved in probably led to this crime that occurred.
Tompton's family and friends describe him as funny and quirky with an infectious smile. They also say he loved his kids, including a baby daughter. Now, it took police hours to get to the scene after Tompton's death. They say it's because it took that long for a worried resident to notice him. Now, coming up tonight at 5 and 6, we'll have more from Tompton's family about what they say this loss means. Mark and Susan.
Madeline O'Neill live in Beloit. Thank you, Maddie.
The trial for suspended Badgers football player Quintus Cephas, who is facing sexual assault charges, was delayed today. According to court records, Cephas's case was determined to be not ready for trial. Cephas faces 2 felony sexual assault charges in connection with sexual assault allegations from last year.
President Trump is on his way to El Paso, Texas, to rally his supporters for a border wall. He has threatened to shut down the government a second time if he doesn't get funding for it. Democratic and Republican members of Congress are back at the negotiating table today after talks broke down over the weekend. Natalie Brand has the latest.
El Paso locals call this the borderland, and it's where President Trump will make another pitch for his border wall in front of supporters tonight. Presidential advisors say he'll make the case that border barriers work, and the proof is in El Paso, one of the safest cities in the country. But the mayor of El Paso, also a Republican, says the city was safe before the barriers went up. He wants to make that point to the president and requests more manpower to manage the influx of migrants.
We need more CBP in our bridges here. We have 6 bridges. They're not fully staffed.
Over the weekend, supporters of the president's wall gathered near El Paso where an existing barrier ends to create a human border wall. A Democratic congressional delegation also visited El Paso.
We met a mother who had just been reunited with her children last night after being separated for 4 months, and seeing her still crying and seeing her children trying to adjust to the situation.
Back here in Washington, Republican and Democratic lawmakers are trying to revive stalled negotiations over border security. They'll need to pass a deal that the president will sign by Friday night in order to avert another shutdown.
Talks broke down over the weekend over Democrats' demands to put a cap on the number of detention facility beds. They say they want the Trump administration to prioritize detaining immigrants with criminal records instead of families. But Republicans say ICE detains criminals, and a cap would hinder that mission.
Natalie Brand for News 3 Now.
The president has said he wants $5.7 billion in border wall funding. Right now, congressional negotiators are looking at between $1.3 and $2 billion for new and replacement fencing.
Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax says he is confident in the truth after a second woman comes forward with an accusation of sexual assault. As for Virginia's governor, Ralph Northam, he insists that he will not step down over a blackface scandal. Northam sat down with CBS This Morning co-host Gayle King for his first televised interview since the controversial yearbook photo surfaced last year. He says he will do everything he can to regain Virginia's trust.
The man that you're looking at right now at age 59, who has given over 35 years of service to the United States Army. I have taken care of thousands of sick children and have had over 12 years of public service to the Commonwealth of Virginia. The man you're looking at and talking to right now is not who I was in my early 20s. I have learned, I admit to my mistakes.
As for Virginia's Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, he plans to begin impeachment proceedings against him have been put on hold, even as he faces a second accusation of sexual assault. In the latest claim, Meredith Watson alleges Fairfax raped her in 2000 when they were college students at Duke University. Fairfax acknowledges that he knew Watson but denies her accusations. Stocks were mixed on Wall Street as China trade talks continue. The Dow Industrials lost 53 points, closing at 25,053. The Nasdaq Composite Index added 9, and the S&P 500 gained nearly 2.
The pursuit of the title of Best in Show begins tonight. Close to 3,000 canines are in New York to compete in the 143rd Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. A record 204 breeds and varieties are represented in this year's show, including 2 new breeds. The Grand Basset Griffon Vendéen, I've been practicing that for half an hour.
Congratulations.
Is one of them. That's Mercy there. That's the new breed. She says her training to be top dog started at just 8 weeks old. Her owner says that.
It's a challenge to make them a champion at this point, just because there's not a ton of them around.
After the preliminary rounds, just 7 dogs will get the chance to compete for the Best in Show trophy at Madison Square Garden tomorrow night.
There's another new breed, too.
There is.
You going to try it?
I already got one. Give me an assist.
Right. That dog also made his debut.
That's right. That's the second Dutch breed that'll be at the show. And the reigning...
Oh, my goodness.
The reigning Westminster champion, Flynn, a fluffy white Bichon Frise, will not compete this year.
And I think a Whippet is the favorite right now. He's won a lot of big shows going into this, so we'll find out tomorrow night. But I love watching the dog show.
I love watching it, too. And you can watch it on, what network is it?
Fox Sports 1. Yep.
Okay, tonight and tomorrow night.
Well, there's more to come when News 3 Now Live at 4 continues. We're headed to the movies with our resident film critic, Will Loper.
We'll find out what Will thinks of the new movie, The Lego Movie 2, the second part.
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of it.
What is it up to?
I don't know, but that beat is pretty fresh. Uh-oh.
It's like it knows our every move.
Weird, right?
Emmett!
What?
Well, that was a clip from the Lego Movie 2, the second part. One of the newest movies to hit theaters this weekend.
How does the movie stack up? Pun intended. Our film critic Will Loper is here with his review. Hi, Will.
Hi there.
How'd you like this one?
Well, I don't want to build this up too much here, but I mean, what makes a good movie? Is it catchy songs, good humor, action, a talking ice cream butler, a Lego Bruce Willis? Well, this movie has all of that and more, and it's absolutely worth seeing. We pick up right where the first Lego movie left off. Emmett, voiced by Chris Pratt, and his friends, including Lucy and Batman, are fighting off Duplo Lego monsters with the voices of a cute 3-year-old girl. Years later, a visitor comes from the Sistar system to kidnap Emmett's friends for a wedding to unite the two worlds. Are these beings from the Sistar system friends or foes? We just don't know. Of course, what's happening in the Lego world is an analogy for the real world. The first movie was about a son and his father. This one involves a brother and sister, if you couldn't have guessed. Needless to say, if you happen to have kids who always fight with their siblings, this movie has a great message about getting along with your brother or sister that the kid should absolutely see. But if you're a fully grown adult alone in the theater like me, you'll still find plenty to enjoy.
The plot's really not that important.
No. I mean, and it is fun to sort of suss out, like, oh, what does this stand for in the real world? Like, what characters is the sister controlling? What characters is the brother controlling? And how's it all gonna end?
Does it have a catchy song like Everything is Awesome this time?
There is literally a song called Catchy Song, and the lyrics go, this song is gonna get stuck inside your head. So,
That's great.
And it did get it's still stuck in my head. That's
funny.
That's great.
All right, so what's the rating?
I give this one 4 Lego Bruce Willises out of 5.
Ooh, high rating.
High rating is very good.
All right, up next, Cold Pursuit.
3 of Viking's drug dealers have disappeared.
What makes you think you can kill a man? I read it in a crime novel.
Cold Pursuits. Okay, so you're just gonna wanna take Liam Neeson from Taken and put him on a snowplow. That's this movie. So Neeson, he plays a snowplow driver in the Rocky Mountains. His son dies at the hands of a drug cartel. One by one, Neeson sets out to take revenge and kill the bad guys. This film has a very dark comedic edge to it that sets it apart from other more straightforward revenge films. It's consistently enjoyable, even if the bad guys are just mostly annoying cliches. If you like Liam Neeson in his action roles or very bleak comedies where the body count keeps stacking up and up, well, this movie's for you.
And he's got a little controversy in his personal life right now.
He does. He's kind of going through some PR storm right now, and
Did that affect the movie at all?
well, it performed about what they expected, maybe a little bit lower. It made about 10 million, so it's not a box office smash. But I can imagine some people that may have turned him off from seeing this.
He's getting a little long in the tooth for action roles.
He's getting up there in years, and you can tell when he's hauling around dead bodies and heaving and gasping.
He's still got it, though.
He's still got it.
Yeah.
All
right, so what's the rating?
I gave this one 3 snowplows out of 5.
Snowplows? I had enough of snowplows around.
I know, yeah.
All right, next week.
We got Isn't It Romantic? Rebel Wilson hits her head and wakes up in a PG-13 romantic comedy movie.
Can't wait.
I know, it looks funny.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Will.
We'll be right back.
This is News 3 Now, live at 4.
Well, take a look at this. More than 1,000 Muscovites brought paint, clothes, shovels to adorn snowmen for the Battle of the Snowman contest in Moscow's Palace of Pioneers. Teams were given 2 hours to build and decorate their snowmen and snowwomen using the instruments they brought with them. Snowman builders drew their inspiration from various sources, including the Year of the Pig in the Chinese calendar, while another contestant built a snowman that held grains to feed local birds. Pretty
That's
creative.
an interesting idea.
Look at that one.
Very creative.
Well, there's going to be plenty of that to work with around here.
Yes, we have quite a bit of snowfall that's going to be coming through tonight. We're expecting heavy snowfall anywhere from midnight up until, unfortunately, your drive tomorrow. So the timeline there, not exactly ideal. But we're going to take a closer look at that timeline and snow accumulations in just a few minutes. So our focus, of course, is on the snow. We have a significant winter storm that will be moving in the next few hours, starting to already see a little bit of snow in the southwest corner of the state, but all of southern Wisconsin under a winter storm warning for central and western southern Wisconsin, and then a winter storm watch to the southeast and towards Chicago. Now, the timing is plus or minus a few hours for every county. We got a little bit of a division here with our lines, but wherever you may be, do know that it starts this evening and goes through Tuesday. Again, plus or minus just a few hours. Overall, that snowfall is still just down towards Dubuque. They're seeing heavier snow right now. Flurries towards Platteville, starting to creep a little further east. We'll start to see snowfall in Madison. And about the next 2 hours, we'll see some significant snow. But that freezing line is still well to the south. The focus is still all snowfall for us. And that actually is a good thing. Even though a lot of folks not excited about the heavy accumulation we're expecting to see overnight, it does make cleanup a little easier when we don't have that freezing mix mixed precipitation for us, just snow. So even as we head into Tuesday morning, that snow is going to stay with us, but the freezing line stays further south throughout the morning on Tuesday. If you do have to travel early in the day, we are expecting our snowfall to continue actually all the way up until about noon. We don't start to taper off until later in the afternoon. Clouds stay with us overnight, and then we finally start to clear up a little bit by Wednesday. So a little closer look at our timing for us. Again, we get in the next few hours, we have some snow building into Dane County. Flurries first, then light snowfall, and then heavy snowfall expected from midnight through the early morning. Our breeze is going to be quite strong overnight, coming from the east throughout the morning on Tuesday, still breezy and snowy. And then later in the afternoon, we will steadily start to taper from snow to flurries and then just isolated snowfall for us in the afternoon. Tuesday night, though, even though the snow has wrapped up, our breeze shifting directions becoming more northwest, but we may see our wind gusts get up to 40 miles per hour Tuesday night. So the concern then becomes blowing and drifting snow. Still an issue, of course, for travel on the roads. Could be very dangerous later on Tuesday. And then heading into Wednesday, our breeze starts to die down just a little bit, but still expecting a windy start to the day on Wednesday. Temperature-wise, pretty seasonal actually for the next few days. Not expecting a huge drop off in our temperature. The focus still on the snow coming through. Our European models were in just over 8 inches for us into Madison. Our GFS, the global model, a little closer to 7 inches. So in-house, we're going anywhere from 6 to 9 with the central dark blue band stretching from Platteville all the way up towards Sheboygan. Areas northwest likely going to receive much more snow, and then areas southeast only looking closer to about 3 to 6 inches from Janesville towards Milwaukee and then down into Chicago. Overall, this snow is actually going to help bump us up to where we should be for the year. We had a little bit of a stall there in December, but several significant snowfalls over the last month and a half, getting us back on track. Our alert day is still in the forecast for Tuesday because of the heavy snowfall that will be coming through. And roads are probably going to be messy very early in the morning and even later in the afternoon once the snow has wrapped on up. Temperatures are going to hold steady overnight with a cloudy sky. We'll stay in the upper 20s. The snowfall is really going to continue for us throughout the morning. Tomorrow, highs will be close to 30 degrees, but it's actually going to fall throughout the afternoon. And it'll be a little windy later on. That alert day is for tomorrow because of the snow on the way. Looking at our temperatures, you can see the trend through the weekend. It's a little bit of a drop, but no major drop expected for us. Snowfall totals through the morning will be picking up the most steam up until about 8 o'clock and then steadily starting to become just light snowfall for us for the afternoon. And then we'll get some sun back in the forecast for Wednesday. But looking at that 10-day forecast, temperatures are going to stay well below freezing. So whatever does fall, it's going to be added to Thursday night and into Friday. We have a little more light snow, and it does look like early next week we might have another small snow event come through. So just packing it up. The salt situation right now in the city is certainly a good idea because anything that is going to fall, of course, not going anywhere.
And Kickapoo schools over in Viola, delayed 2 hours.
Which
says on the bottom of the screen.
Somewhere below, of course. And that's all on the website also if there's any more closings that hop up. So that's something that you can check in throughout the rest of the evening. And most of the concern, of course, is in the morning with that delay.
So if you can stay home later than normal,
I would recommend that absolutely Tuesday morning if you can. Just give yourself a little extra time and give the street crews a little extra time too. It's much easier for them if we're not on the roads.
Absolutely. All right, we've been warned.
That's it.
A couple more hours to get the car filled up, get to the grocery store.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Dana.
When we come back, commemorating the 50th anniversary of a historic moment on the UW campus.
The Black Student Strike of 1969. One of the lead organizers of the strike joins us, as well as a student journalist working to keep the story alive. That's when Live at 4 continues.
This month marks 50 years since the black student strike on UW-Madison campus. Thousands of black students participated in one of the largest protests in the university's history.
You may not know much about this, but student journalists on campus are working to change that. And joining us today are one of the lead organizers of the 1969 strike, Wahid Rashad, and Shiloah Coley, a junior at UW-Madison, majoring in journalism. Welcome to Live at 4. Good to see you both.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot has changed since I left.
Yeah, that's right. Wahid, tell us a little bit about what was going on campus in 1969 that led you to organize this strike.
Well, a lot of people have to realize that what we did in '69 was a continuum. You know, it just didn't spring up, you know, in '69. But if there was anything that precipitated it, I would say the protests of black students at Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And for their protest, they had gotten expelled from the university. So part of the demands was to reinstate these students because they were just speaking out for a need, okay? And so I would say that that was one of the things. The other demands that we had, which were 12 other demands, were from the past, from '66, from '67, from '68. We had made attempts to get these things done.
Did you expect the turnout that happened, one of the largest protests ever?
We didn't. We were very, very happy about it. I can say that it is a result of a lot of the work that we did in January of '67, in the summer of '67, in '68. So that's why I use the word continuum, because we got the word out, we interacted with the community, we had meetings with the university, and we went back and forth over these demands. So we just continued fighting.
And Shiloah, tell me a little bit about the oral history that you're working on to kind of shine a light on this event.
Yeah, so essentially UW Communications reached out to us about wanting to commemorate the 1969 Black Student Strike, and I'm the co-editor-in-chief of the Black Voice, so they reached out to us, and the Black Voice has a history of activism on campus and even helped cover some of the original 1969 Black Student Strike. So we thought it was really important that we be a part of this and really making sure that students recognize the history of what black students have done on this campus, and also inspires us as activists on campus and hoping to make UW-Madison better for students in the future. So we really wanted to collect the oral history and really help with creating this narrative of the importance of what was going on with the 1969 Black Student Strike.
Yes, yes.
And what went through your mind when you started doing the research and talking to people about what happened that day?
I think I didn't even know that much about the history of it. I'd heard it briefly before and seen some signage about it in the Black Cultural Center on campus, but to actually hear about how many people came out and supported and how large of a movement it was, especially you think about there was such a small number of black students on campus. I know Wahid was telling me earlier it was around 90. So the support that they received from the community in Madison and the other students was absolutely tremendous. And I don't know if Madison's seen something like that since that.
Wahid, was it one day or was it a succession of days?
It was a succession of days, and it grew. From the first day to the second day. I think it peaked around the third day. And also when the administration made a mistake and called in the National Guard, that further enraged students. Students that were marginal came out because they felt that that was an intrusion and it was unfair. You know, it was an issue that was internal. It was the students communicating with the university. There is a need. And one of the things I want to emphasize is that we use the commitment that the University of Wisconsin made when they brought us up to say, hey, you're not doing enough. You're saying that you're standing for equality, you're standing to help improve the conditions of black folks in general, creating a leadership class that will go out and do things positive for the black community. We need more.
50 years later, where are we?
50 years later, we're in a good place. We're not there, but we're in a good place. We do have people, because of what has been done in the past, you have people that are confident that it can be done totally.
And the young
as
people are
long,
there.
here we go.
And you're looking at their experience
Right.
versus your own experience today at the university. It must have been very educational to learn about that.
Right, it was really inspiring to learn about all that they did to make campus better for us, and I think it even further inspires us to continue getting to the place where we're there and fighting for like Black students and marginalized communities on campus.
That was the message 50 years ago and today as well. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Great to
Appreciate
see you.
it.
Important work, Shaloa.
Thank
Keep
you.
it up.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yep.
Well, coming up, we're going to have a conversation on conservation.
Find out how it benefits the Henry Vila Zoo and their conservation efforts. That's when Live at 4 continues.
Wow, wonderful.
Okay. Good job.
So much of Dane County looks good right now. Downtown, though, of course, starting to see just a few brake lights. So, of course, slowing down a little more congestion on the roads, a few more cars on the roads, especially along the Beltline. Eastbound, we're seeing those speeds reduced, especially the closer you get to Monona. A little closer to Middleton, still traveling at about 62 miles per hour. Much of the Monona area looks okay downtown. Also not too bad right now. Up into Sauk County, drive times seem to be okay through the Dells and Prairie du Sac. I do want to look down towards Janesville really quick, though. We do have a slowdown here southbound on 39 and 90. There was an accident that's blocking the right shoulder, not blocking any lanes right now, but you can see the delay backed up again on 39. Drive times on the Beltline. It'll take you just about 6 minutes to get from John Nolan to 39 and 90, 4 minutes from John Nolan to Verona Road, and then from University Avenue over to 90, just about 25 minutes with the speeds reduced a little bit there to go from University Avenue.
All right, Dana, thank you. Madison's Henry Viola Zoo is recognized as one of the best zoos in the country and is a key partner in conservation efforts.
Tomorrow is the zoo's second annual Save Our Species Luncheon, and the theme this year is a conversation on conservation. The two featured speakers are with us today. John Calvelli at the far end of the couch is with the Wildlife Conservation Society. Welcome, John.
Welcome.
And Dr. Chris Dold is a Madison native, a graduate of the UW Vet School, and is Chief Veterinary Officer at SeaWorld. Welcome home, Chris.
Thanks
Good to
very
see
much.
you both.
Thank you.
Let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about the work you do at SeaWorld and what you're going to be presenting tomorrow with the luncheon.
Sure. Well, so this luncheon is really an opportunity for us all to get together and talk about conservation. At SeaWorld, we're proud to have a couple of feet in the water, as it were. We take care of animals that come in to our parks from the beach with our rescue programs. We take care of the animals that live within our parks that our guests get to see every day. And then we're also able to do pretty substantial philanthropic work around the world for through our conservation fund. And so we'll be telling stories about all of the work that we're able to do and then our partnerships with organizations like the Wildlife Conservation Society.
And John, tell us about the society. What is your...
So we are not the new kids on the block. We've been around since 1895. Wow. We were founded through the help of President Teddy Roosevelt. And one of the two things that we were committed to doing was helping educate people about conservation and wildlife. And we opened the Bronx Zoo in 1899. So we run the 4 zoos in the aquarium in New York. And then, of course, to do work overseas to help save wildlife. And we now work in approximately 60 countries around the world, helping to protect about 50% of the world's biological diversity.
And what's your message for the luncheon tomorrow?
You know, I think as we talk about these two institutions, Henry Vilas is such an important part of that conversation because all the zoos together have about 200 million visitors a year. So we have a really important responsibility to tell the message that we're all advocates for wildlife. They can't speak for themselves. We have to speak for them.
And Chris, do you often have to answer a lot of questions about the welfare of animals versus the benefit of animals in zoos and the challenges they face in the wild?
Absolutely. That's part of something that we all work on in the collective zoological community is making sure that we aren't just providing great care for the animals that live within our parks, but we're challenging them, creating enriching environments. But ultimately, the goal of all of us as zoological members of the zoological community is to allow those animals to be the ambassadors for their wild counterparts. We've got great conservation research happening in all of our parks, so we can study the animals that live within our parks, and then we can use that science that we develop to enhance conservation initiatives out in the wild, all the while letting kids and families meet these extraordinary animals and recruiting the next generation of conservation specialists.
I have to say on that, I saw some of the video from the Henry Vilas Zoo, and you had 2 bison coming in. So the bison, there were 30 million bison in our country. They were hunted to almost extinction. There were only 21 left. We actually bred them at the Bronx Zoo in 1905, 1906, 1907, and thanks to 2 companies, American Express and Wells Fargo, because they had trains then, they actually took the bison from the zoo and shipped them out west. So many of those bison that you see in federal reserves can trace their roots back to the zoo. So the fact is, that story is being told literally every day in New York, but seeing those bison here at the Henry Vilas Zoo is helping to also tell that story of how zoos help save the national mammal.
Right. Have zoos' missions changed over the years? Have what they're meant to do?
I think if you look at the long trajectory of zoos, yes, but I will say that foundation in conservation, as John just mentioned, has been there for a very, very long time. They've continued to grow and develop into near university-like settings where you have science and research happening at the same time that education is happening, and then ultimately inspiration. But that focus, that continued enhanced focus on larger conservation initiatives for zoos to be engines for conservation has been honed and developed and emphasized strongly over the last few years. And that's a critical need right now because, as we mentioned, there are more and more endangered species every day. Yeah. We're facing a new global extinction event caused by human beings, generally considered to be caused by human beings. So we've all got a tremendous responsibility to do everything we can for animals in the wild. And almost all of that work starts in zoological parks.
It's interesting. I would say that the mission has always been the same, but the way we go forward in that mission has changed, right? Yeah. So some of the things that, who knew about social media in 1895, right? So you have to look at it from that perspective. And what you find now is a very interested electorate. People are excited to be engaged. And that's an opportunity for us in the zoo community to take that 200 million people that are coming through our parks and saying, you know what, we can be part of a movement. I'm wearing a button that says change agent. We all are change agents. We all have to make lives better, not just for us, but for the wildlife.
Absolutely. The Save Our Species Luncheon tomorrow, 11:30 at the Edgewater Hotel in Madison. For tickets and information, go to vilaszoo.org. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us and keep up the great work.
Great to see you both.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back with the final check your forecast. Snow is coming.
Snow is coming. It is on the way. We're actually already starting to see some flurries in Grant County. We do have, of course, that winter storm warning, the bright pink for much of the area. And then looking towards the southeast corner of the state, a winter weather advisory in effect. And we are expecting that snowfall to just continue into tomorrow morning. Once it starts, it stays with us. Heavy snowfall is expected to start off the day tomorrow. Taking a quick look at our Doppler radar, you can see again, we're seeing flurries in the southwest corner of the state right now. Dubuque, northern Illinois, reporting snowfall. All of that is going to continue to move northeast. And once it's here, it's going to dump about 5 to 11 inches right in Dane County.
100% chance, huh?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
At this point, I don't like to be one of those all-in kind of people, but if I had to bet my left arm,
There
I would.
you go. All right.
Oh, wow, that's pretty.
Be prepared in the morning.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks, Dana.
Tomorrow here on Live Forward, if we're all still alive, we'll go behind the wheel with Harvey Briggs. We'll check out the truck of the year, the 2019 Ram 1500.
And Consumer Reports has some advice on the best baking chocolates that you should use for your Valentine's Day desserts. That's tomorrow at 4. In today's Final Touch, another use for your best friend these days, the snow